do your friends and family know that you have videos on YouTube? Know that you do this content here and there. We will start with you, Ange.
I think they're aware of it. I don't actually publish any of this on my feed, but I know my mom follows stuff that pops up. Anything I comment on, she knows about. So I have a feeling we haven't discussed it yet. She's probably in favor of it. She had 9 kids and didn't think it was sunshine and roses. So
Madison, what about you?
So this is a funny story because I talk about it with my family and I share things and stuff like that. But I was walking around a couple weeks ago and my boyfriend was laying in bed and I was watching one of the videos that Danielle had posted that I wasn't part of. And my boyfriend's like, oh, what are you watching? And I'm like, one of those videos that I do with Danielle and everybody. And he's like, wait, those get posted? I was like, yeah. And he was like, I thought you were just like having video chats with people all these months and that you were just like logging into Zoom to have like Zoom calls with people. I had no idea these were videos going out on YouTube. I was like, yeah, you can watch every single thing we've talked about. So everybody knows. My boyfriend just hadn't really pieced it together until recently.
What about you, Christina?
Yeah. And I've actually shared with my colleagues at work. So yeah, for sure. My kids know, everyone knows.
Danielle?
Oh yeah.
I mean, why am I asking this question?
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody knows from my end. I actually have this is actually kind of funny, but with my family, like on the weekends and stuff like that, because that's normally when we get together, people will ask me, what time are you filming? Like what like so like it's become like a normal thing, like where I'm like, hey, I'm filming at this time, but I'll come over and see you for lunch, or we'll come by for dinner, or let's meet or whatever. So actually it has been like around my scheduling with my family and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty normal part of our lives, I guess you could say.
my one son knows I do Zoom calls. I think he figured out eventually that I was actually somewhere on YouTube, but since it's not under my name, it's harder for him to figure out how to look it up.
And any funny Christmas story that you can tell us?
I don't know. I think it's the old childhood I grew up in a large family. We had a farm, not really. We had animals anyhow. And the legend is that at midnight on Christmas Eve, the animals will talk. Now, we all told each other this story and we all dared each other to go out and check. None of us ever did.
All right. Tess, what about you? Any funny Christmas stories?
You know, the one that comes to mind is when I was growing up, I had this dog, okay? It's a border collie. His name was Cahoon, and he was brilliant. Also a little bit diabolical. And he liked to get into the food and knew he wasn't supposed to. And so one day, I don't know what happened, but like my dad had taken like our big old ham out of the oven and left it on the counter and then walked away. And when he came back, there's a bite taken out of it. And he looked at my dog, and what he tells my dog is, go to your room. And he does. and so that just makes me laugh every time thinking about, like, he was so angry. All I could think of was to send the dog to his room to think about what he did.
Madison, what about you? Any funny Christmas stories?
I would be doing a disservice to the memory of my grandmother and her sister if I didn't tell this one. It was quite literally a scene from a National Lampoon movie. So my grandmother and her sister had another sister that lived out in California. They've all since passed away. And it was their tradition every year to go to their brother's house for Christmas dinner, leave dinner for the airport, fly to California, and make it to California in time for their little sister's Christmas dinner. And each year they'd bring like 1 or 2 children with them. So now, have you ever seen the James and the Giant Peach movie? My grandmother and her sister looked like Sponge and Spiker, the aunts. Like my grandmother was this bowling ball of an Italian woman and her sister was the other one. And it was just ridiculous to watch them in action together. And the one year when I was a kid, it was my turn and my cousin Johnny's turn to go to California with our grandmothers. And we're flying somewhere. We had a layover in Chicago and we're flying somewhere over the United States. And I'm 9 years old at the time, I think. And it's just after they served dinner on the plane, because this is when they would still serve a full meal to everybody. And my grandmother's sister, the tall, lively, vivacious of the two of them, she pulls out of her carry-on these Christmas Carol lyric books and just marches down the aisle of the plane, passing them out to everybody who was in coach with us. And they started a Christmas caroling event. And my grandmother passed out noisemakers. So there's people with like those little spinny things that make a clicky noise. And there's a lot of kazoos happening and everybody in coach. It's like the scene in the Brady Bunch when they go to Hawaii or whatever, and they're all singing on the airplane. Well, first class didn't like this. And first class complained to the flight attendants in first class, which then started a kind of like bickering between the flight attendants in first class and the flight attendants in coach. And it ended in one of the first class flight attendants coming up to my grandmother and her sister and being like, you are causing a problem on an airplane. If we have to emergency land this plane and have the federal marshals waiting for you, it was insane. Obviously, they didn't do that. We made it safely to California. But I think my aunt's response was to be like, and I'm going to call 2020 and they're going to have the news waiting for you on the runway with the police. And you're going to be the Scrooges that got a whole bunch of people in trouble for having Christmas spirit. And then
wow. I love that idea actually. And I think it would totally go viral now. I love it.
It would. If this was the time of cameras, it would have been, and my grandmother and her sister would have eaten it up. And if they knew it happened once, they would try to stage it every year after that because they just both loved attention. That's why they showed up on an airplane with noisemakers and lyrics to Christmas carols. But I'm like, we're sitting here singing like about decorating Christmas trees and all the hoity-toity people up front are like, we're trying to enjoy our lobsters.
I just imagine going to jail and then being like, what are you in for? I started Christmas caroling on a plane. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Danielle, what about you? Favorite, a funny memory? Can you think of one?
You know what? I'll be honest. Every holiday with my family is funny and very entertaining. We come from a big family. There's 5 of us. I'm the oldest and I have a bunch of brothers, and my parents are very entertaining, both of them. And, then everybody that comes over, like people that we're with or whatever, like it's a very entertaining every family event. Like it's lots of laughs. We are very loud, like very out there. The only thing I can think of, because I was trying to think of a funny one, because it's like literally every year I could probably think of something goofy that happens. Like my dad jumping in the pool, and it's on Christmas, he's like, let's go jump in the pool. And he dares all the guys to go jump in the pool, and we'll see who goes jump in the pool. But last year we did have something that, I know you don't. Yeah, I'm not getting in there either. Michael doesn't either, but he did years ago. He did jump in there. I do remember it might've been New Year's or something, but last year, kind of random. This is what I remember. So we only have 2 boys. So there's 2 cousins. So my son and then my brother's son. So there's just the 2 boys that open their presents. And so last year, when we got him to come over, because he goes back and forth between my brother and his mom, and he came, they put him on the couch and he was tired, and we had been waiting all day to open presents. And here's my kid at the time was 3, like, yay, presents. And, and everybody's all excited, presents, and the kids and all stuff. And he fell asleep. And I think he was sleeping. So we decided, well, we're just going to kind of keep opening presents. Well, there's a tradition in my house because we have a big family. So somebody puts on like an elf or Santa hat, and they go around and they pass out the presents. And so we were all getting our presents passed around. We normally open them up and kind of together. Well, he just kept getting presents put around him. Well, eventually it ended up that they were building a fort on him. So his presents ended up like all over him as he was like sleeping, and like we could not wake him up. And then at some points they ended up, because he ended up like with a snowball fight with wrapping paper. I don't know if you guys, I do with I have a bunch of boys. So, and they may be adults, but we know what's really going on. They're still kids. And so they ended up like putting all this paper on him. And we have like pictures of him where it's just like a mountain of presents, like his presents, and then wrapping paper and balls. Like it's like an igloo around this poor little sleeping little boy. And and that was Christmas. And when he woke up, he was like so confused, like what's happening. And it was just, and that was just last year. So I mean, every year there's something random and interesting. For Thanksgiving this year, and Adam knows what I'm talking about, my mom kept saying, I made the perfect turkey. I made the perfect turkey. And she kept having this big deal. And we kept saying, Mom, stop. You're going to like jinx it. And we're going to end up with the Griswold's turkey. And when she pulled it out and we were all sitting there, we're all like quiet. I was like, okay, if this happens Griswold style, where we have this beautiful turkey and we go to cut it and it just goes, I was like, you did this, because all day she kept saying, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like, look at it. It's so great. And we were all prepared because our house is like the Griswolds. Like Adam can verify it is the Griswold. My dad likes to go crazy decoration inside, outside, around their pool, in the backyard. I don't know why. Like my dad has lights everywhere. There's trees everywhere. There's blow ups. There's so much stuff. Like they go Christmas crazy. So I was like, we're having a Griswold like Thanksgiving, but the turkey ended up great. But we were for sure like, Mom, you jinxed it. Like, but Adam, go ahead, because I know you're gonna think of so many other things that I didn't
there was
think
one
of.
which I gotta ask though. Is there any children in the room at all of any of these? I'm worried more for Madison. I will wait until she's back, because I'm more worried that I see children. Oh, is there any children in your room?
My spawns are all out of the room.
Okay, so there was one. My dad, and Danielle can verify, does things without thinking. He says things without thinking. And we went from a village in Michigan and we moved to Vegas. And my dad, for our first Christmas in Vegas, wrote us the Santa letter. Now, again, he does things without thinking. The way he wrote it, and I was little at the time too. Even as a little kid, I was like, this is bad, because the way he wrote it was like, you thought you could get away from me, but you couldn't. And I know where you guys go, and I'm following you everywhere. And all of it, reading this, like, one of my oldest brother, he basically was like, I'm just gonna say it. He's a creeper, and like straight up was like, and so like we were like, who wrote this letter? Like it was so scary to read this letter, because it sounded, the way he wrote it was, I guess you could hear it in his charm and the way he was trying to make it sound, but it just did not come off as endearing and funny as he thought it was gonna come off. And so he needed a proof check. Christina,
Yeah.
what about you? Any funny story?
So my story is no children in the rooms.
Nope.
Okay. My story is, apparently I ruined Santa for all my children, every single one of them. Right. So with my daughter, Amber, she's 27. We took her to see the Santa Claus 2. I don't know what year that was. I don't know how old she was. And after the movie, she was all excited. And I was like, well, that's not real, right? So she took it to mean that I was telling her Santa wasn't real. And that's how I spoiled Santa for her. I just was talking about the movie not being a real thing, right? And then Austin can tell his story. This is my son, Austin.
Hi, everyone. Kind of a similar thing. My mom didn't realize I knew how to read. I don't know how you didn't realize that. But she set out gifts from Santa 2 weeks earlier. Yeah.
So I
That could
guess
do
I
it.
wrote to Austin loves Santa and I put him under the tree, but I didn't know that he could read. So he saw the tags on the present. I don't know. And then for Abby, this was actually just probably, well, she's what, 14? So this was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. I think it was the first Christmas in this house. I always did Santa paper. All the presents from Santa have the same paper for all the kids. So apparently that Christmas morning, she walked into my closet and she saw the paper roll on the top of my closet because I didn't hide it good enough. So yeah, I ruined Santa for all of my kids in one way or another.
You think after the first two, you would learn from all of this, but you know what? It's good. It's good.
I threw the paper on the top shelf of my closet. I didn't think she could see it. She's just a little short shit. Oh, short kid. And she walked in and she's yeah. So apparently I'm the ruiner of Santa and the family.
Our mother got smart because my brothers would try to sneak into the closet to see the presents and everything like that because they knew, even though we all were like, yeah, Santa and everything, we knew something was in that closet and stuff. So our parents got smart and they put a sex doll in there. And so when we found the sex doll, well, one of us would always try to still go in there, but all of us were like, you know what? We don't need to see any more of any of this. We saw a blow up doll. And
You know what? I forgot about that. And here I'm like, I can't think of anything. I forgot that's real. My
It's a real
dad
story.
would dress up a sex doll for the holidays. And
Yes.
he would put like
Cancels,
like
little
yeah.
castles or whatever they were. Yeah, it was.
I'm so serious.
Those.
My dad, he's had a Hulu.
Oh my
Hulu
God,
looking-
in the closet.
In the closet. And then they would move it to different areas. And at one point they even had because you have your jackets and everything hung up on they would put it in the jacket and hang it there. And so when you go in to look you would see this hanging doll in the jacket just sitting there. It was insane what they would do with that
That's
doll.
terrifying.
You know what?
Yeah.
I just want to say this is actually my fault because many years ago, I think it was my parents' anniversary, I bought them this doll as a joke to my parents, but then my parents, me not thinking my parents are going to use it as a joke for now forever. So they blew it up. And like, it was like, I was like, oh, I don't know what the heck it looks like, whatever. So they blew it up. And that became like this big joke for like years until it finally, my dad kept patching it, I guess, because it kept the coals and stuff. He kept patching it and stuff like, because you'd blow it up and you put it down, but you'd blow it up and my dad was like, there'd be holes. So I kept patching it. After a while, he had to throw it away because it was like, I couldn't patch it anymore. But we had that thing for like years that he played like so many jokes with this, and it is my fault. Like I want to say it was like my early 20s. I got it for my parents, like for their anniversary as a gay gift joke. And my parents blew it up and used it forever as jokes for the rest of us. So I'm sorry, my brothers, if you were scarred.